now hand over the session in the able hands of the panel and request Mr. Khan to please moderate the session and take it from here.
Okay, if everybody will please settle down. These are some basic questions I think every parent, every grown-up wants to know about the children, and we perhaps have the best panel here. My children have gone through these hands, and I have noticed one thing, that people who are educating children, like these three wonderful ladies here, Vandana, Leena and Jyoti, that they look after our kids, know about their future, even perhaps more than the parents can ever do. So thank you very much for having done this for years. And there are a few questions that I think everybody feels are relevant when we talk about kids. The first question, and any of you can take it. We won't go in order of color or any other order. But the first question is, you know, how important, because Kidzania has an experience like this. When I was growing up, one never thought of a place like this. Your schools, you know, whenever I visited or come down with my children, I noticed there is a huge element of fun. And one wants to understand how important is fun in education, not only for the younger kids, but as the kids go older. So whichever one of you would like to please enlighten us on this.
Ma'am, sorry to interrupt you, but may I please request everyone to be a little quiet so that we can hear everybody? Please, humble request.
You can't tell the children to be quiet. They'll never be quiet. Okay, the grown-ups be quiet. The children can keep talking.
Thank you.
If you ask me as a head of a school, I think education is a combination of entertainment and education. And I think that until and unless you don't add fun to the learning process, it's no longer interesting for today's children. So you will see a lot of teaching techniques. You will see a lot of technology into the classrooms. And when I think back of my days, we went to a class where there was just plain blackboards and 4 walls. But today you will see there's a huge interactive board. Children get an opportunity to drag, drop, work in groups, and definitely try and learn things more with interaction and collaboration. And enjoy learning. There are rap songs, which I didn't have during my time. And when we talk about learning, also you will find children challenging the teachers, asking questions in a classroom, asking questions like, why do we burp? When they're learning about digestive systems. So you will find that learning and teaching has changed drastically in today's times. That's what I think.
Yeah, and I think just to collaborate that, somewhere down the line when there is no openness between teachers and students where they can really interact with them directly and have fun and know that there's not like a master and a smaller relationship between people who are teaching them, I think kids learn better. I remember when I was growing up, the nicest learnings I have had from the teachers who are not actually teaching me, but post-school, the ones that I could have fun with. And they taught me a lot. Take this one.
I believe as educators, we're always forced to prove concepts. And the main reason why fun works, from a science point of view, is whenever we have fun, we release a chemical in our brain called dopamine. And when we release this, that's how we become addicted to things like dancing or singing or anything that we enjoy doing. The second thing that happens in a place like Kidzania or in classrooms that actually work is kids get a direct connection between learning and real life. And that's when learning comes alive for them, and that's when they start enjoying it, and that's when they release lots of happiness chemicals and get addicted to learning.
Wonderful. And actually, I mean, we can go on and on about this because I have a lot of personal experiences of my own. If I may ask you, why do you think children can impact social change or can create a set of mind, not only for the future, I think including the parents? How can they bring about change? Why are they so important that they will bring change?
We talk about children as the future of a country. But it is very important right now that we mold them in such a way that they secure their present so that they make their own challenges and they control their own challenges. And that is how that, as you have asked, that children, as you asked about the fun, you know, in the classroom. Now, when we have children, in the class, you cannot restrict certain subjects with respect to fun. What is happening is learning by doing is something which we have incorporated in our studies, in our curriculum, where every subject where you go for, it is learning by doing, learning by fun. That is what,
Yeah, and I think that's a very important part. We always keep talking about, and for parents, it's, is it off, school time over? I think that's a very, very important part she makes, that we think of children as just the future. We never realize how important it is that they should be secure in their present. Because if they're secure in their present, the choices, the decisions they will take actually is going to make for a better future. But if they're not secure now, if they don't feel happy, they don't feel satisfied, they're disturbed, they don't know what's happening around them, they're not focused, I think the future itself starts getting very tainted. So I think instead of looking for kids as a future that we are looking forward to and hoping for them to emulate parents and become doctors because we wish them to, sportsmen because we want them to, I think we just need to make them secure as to what they're doing now. I think that's extremely important. Again, because I can't choose who to answer, who to ask this, but do you think kids are getting smarter in terms of so many other things, like specifically environment? My kids come back from school, not even now they're older, but when they were younger too, I found them being extremely aware of environment. Unlike, sad to say, I wasn't at all.
I think most schools today around the country are very conscious about global warming and are very conscious about what's happening. So you will see small things that schools do. For example, in our school at Podar, it's 150 hours of community service is mandatory, and part of it is also protecting the environment. So they come up with solar cookers, and that's a new concept. And they actually learn how to cook using solar cookers. They also learn small things like saving water. And we were doing an inquiry-based learning on water. And this mother called up and said, I'm so happy to see that my child actually fired the maid servant for keeping the tap open and washing clothes. So,
I get fired for that while shaving a lot.
And putting off lights. I think, it's so much instilled at school that definitely it makes a great impact on the larger community, which is very important because we know what's happening in today's time. And I think it's very important to instill these kind of values in today's kids. Difficult, they do pool, we do encourage them to carpool, use the school bus, and try our best to initiate. But I must say, they go back home and they correct their grandparents, the maids, and the parents.
You tell me, I was asking, are the kids smarter nowadays, not just on subjects like environment because they're being taught that, but are they basically smarter? Have they evolved to be a smarter species? And if they have, then how can teachers be teaching them if they're smarter than us already?
That's a good thing.
It's a good thing, but I find it difficult now to teach my son, who's, of course, post-10th, but even when he was a 7th and 8th, it became difficult for me to teach, and I was a good student. I was a good I'd studied hard.
Let me tell you, you're a wonderful father.
Thank you.
Well, before I answer your question, one of the things I think is really important is someone like Shah Rukh, with his schedule, made time to come to school for every function, for every special event, every time his kids needed him. He was there. So I think we admire you more in the avatar of being a fabulous father than for anything else.
No, don't say that. People stop watching my films.
Kids have become more aware. Whether they've become smarter or not, obviously the brain's got a little bit more evolved. But I find it fascinating that when I was a 16-year-old visiting here from Australia, I was trendy cool. But today you go to the interiors of India, everyone's trendy cool. I think because of the internet, access to information, just the whole world's become more aware, just not just kids, everybody. But yeah, kids today, I think parents like you are not operating with kids out of from a space of fear, where kids are befriending you rather than, being scared of you as a parent. And therefore, I think kids have got a lot more confident. They question a lot more. Somebody once said, kangaroo kids are very arrogant. And I said, could you explain what you mean? And she said, well, anything you ask them, they say why. Go to sleep, why? Eat your dinner, why? I said, well, if the parents stop to answer, kids would stop questioning. But yeah, kids question a lot more today than they used to.
I think that's a point all parents and everyone should take in mind, that somehow, through evolution or maybe the efforts that people have made over the years, maybe the parents and grandparents, kids are becoming smarter, and we need to treat them as equals. We need to allow them to be able to, I always say there's the two things that children should be allowed to say openly is why and I don't know. Because we scare our children too much that, listen, if you don't have the ability to say I don't know, I don't think you'll have the ability to learn. And that's an important part. I'd carry on, maybe the last question, then we'll move on to... I'd like to know how are there any thoughts that you have in mind, apart from obviously parents doing it, teachers doing it, but in general day-to-day, to create a little more community awareness amongst children? We'll have efforts like this. Unfortunately, India does not have enough. Inshallah, as the years go by, people will develop that. But is there any other thoughts that you have on developing community awareness between children, so that we have a better community as they grow older?
Before I go for that, let me share a small experience.